Okay. Should be fine now, right? I don't know why Microsoft's disabled or actually like reduced my microphone output to 0, but thank you guys so much for joining the stream. I hope you guys are doing well. Couple decisions for me. Like, I think the 50-50 for me is just Anderson, like Lefebvre versus Anderson. You're just kind of just trying to pick a direction where that match is going to go, right? I don't know. Then there's the captaincy piece. I mean, I spoke about it, but you guys didn't hear. But yeah, there's no chance I'll switch off the Palmer captaincy in my position. I'm pretty happy to do that this week. Fran's speechless about the Ariel TC. Like, I think, okay, it's a bad TC. It's probably my worst TC on record, including, for example, some of my TCs on a single game week. But I don't think it's the worst TC in the world, being honest. Like, I've seen some of my friends go for a little bit more ambitious TCs, and I've seen larger flops, if that makes sense. It is terrible, but, you know, we can only move on. And it wasn't really the cause of why I had a bad game week, right? I just simply had no other points directionally, like a Virgil or a Rice, that sort of thing. And I'm now in the timber business, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Umfori, he's alive. Nice to see you, Luca, as well. Joner, Anish, nice to see you. I'm really so torn, Fran. If you had Cunha, would you have sold him to Dango, just started him? I'd probably consider selling to Dango, to be honest, because I mean, I wouldn't say a lot of United predictors are actually saying that he's benched, but I think the problem there is you're kind of relying, I suppose, on trying to guess what a new manager is going to do, and we haven't seen him completely like rip up the team, right? Like the only changes so far that we've seen is his reaction to the Dorgu injury. So it's hard to say when things have been going well what a manager will do after, I guess, one small blip, if that makes sense, results wise. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what he'll do. I do think I'd probably still sell Cunha because this is a really good Dango game, regardless. How's it going, Will? Nice. I'm doing actually quite well. Hoping to kind of resurge a bit this game week. Bowen or Wilson, whom should I start? Or should I sell Bowen for a cheap strike and play 3-5-2? We're talking Harry Wilson here. I'd probably still start Harry Wilson, I think, this week. I mean, actually, no, I'd start Bowen, to be honest. I think this is a really good Bowen fixture, so I'd just keep him. Hey, Tom, a couple comments about the microphone, a couple super chats as well, so I'll just quickly read those. Anish, thank you so much for the member message and for being 27 months a member as well. Appreciate that. Kelleher, Chalaba, Munoz, Gabriel, Timber, Enzo, Rogers, Captain, Wirtz, Bruno, F, Sar, Tiago, Rose. You're benching Holland. Okay. Can we not bench Holland, please? Personally, I think you should just bench Timber for Holland and relax a little bit. I'd have Timber, Mukiele, Krupi as the order of your bench if you wanted to do something like that. I think don't bench Holland. That's just too much for me. Best Turkey replacement. You got 8 million. All right, let me consult my own cheat sheet. How many free transfers do you have? I feel like if you have a lot of free transfers, it's not awful to go Semenyo, but if you don't, is it crazy to suggest Sobo is okay? Like Sobo just has really good fixtures up until game week 31. I mean, Rogers is there too, right? If you want to spend all the money and you want to just go Rogers, there is that. But I think what doesn't appeal to me about buying Rogers now is, I suppose, is just the idea that if you buy Rogers, you're investing into, I guess, like an extremely highly owned player, and there's a bit less risk involved in that, which is not so fun. I think Sobo is actually quite interesting, but that's up to you. And then equally, as I said, if you have a lot of free transfers, I think Semenyo is still the best option and play. So I thank you for being a member for 14 months. Nice to see you around, my friend. Starting Nor over Timber, starting Gab. Yeah, Bami Kwa. I think, yeah, I probably would do it, to be honest. Hassan, thank you so much for the super chat. Hello, friend. Captain Holland or Pedro, if you really have to have a calculated choice. I mean, I personally would still go Holland if you think he's fit. If you think that there's like a chance to reduced minutes, then I think it's kind of all systems go for João Pedro still. I can't really see why João Pedro wouldn't have great minutes on this match. So I can see the. I don't think that there's an expected value gap, to be honest, at all. Like massively speaking, between the two. This is a very good JP game. Yeah, I'd be tempted, but yeah, I think it just comes down to whether you think Haaland has any, like, if you think Haaland's, more likely to play somewhere around the range of like 70 minutes, I think it's a pretty good calculated punt. If you think Haaland's like totally good to go and he's literally going to play the whole game, then I think I'd probably still lean Haaland. But yeah, I kind of hope that answers your question. I think it's not like it would take Haaland being benched for it to be a good play, if that makes sense. I just think if you think Haaland's, quite likely to get a little bit rested, then it works for me. Spider M64, welcome to Manager. I really appreciate you joining as a part of the community. Please join. If anyone who's a new member as well, feel free to join the Discord chat. It's actually been very, very lively recently. I've been super busy at work, but I made an effort to answer all the questions before the deadline, before we jumped on the stream, so that was quite nice. Salah, thank you so much for the super chat as well. GW27, Team, Kelleher, Munoz, Timber, Nunez, Rice, Enzo, Bruno, Semenyo, Dango, Watkins, Holland. Dubravka, Evan Nilsson. Oof, you're bench boosting. Okay, so that's Van Heck. Okay, probably being the weakest piece on the bench boost. I do. I really like Evan Nilsson. I guess, are we 100% certain that Matson is the one? I just think it's a. Is it not a bit risky, I guess, is my question. I suppose if your read is, let's say, Matson and Dean continue to kind of rotate games with each other, then I can kind of see the logic of that. Because it almost feels like it's a one-game Dean start, then a one-game Matson start. But I almost think, yeah, I'm not totally in love with the bench boost, but I can understand the play there. I just think Dubravka, Van Heck, and even arguably Matson is a bit low quality, but Evan Nilsson's class. So are we really just bench boosting for one player there? Let me know your thoughts. Protagonist, member for 23 months. Good luck, Fran. Final confirmation. Roll to JP. Only cap JP. Start Senesi as the third defender. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I didn't really like the hit that you suggested. A couple of questions in chat. Yo, Fran, favorite Aston Villa defender? Yeah, it'd still be Cash for me. Would you start Lefay, Anderson, Senesi, or Raul? Probably Lefay in this situation. Rohit's nice to see, my friend. You got exact funds and 2 free transfers for Gu plus Timber to Thiago plus Rodon, but we'll have to bench Wilson. I would do that because ultimately Thiago's gonna be very good going forwards. Timber kind of has a finite life anyways because of the future blank. I think the only question I don't really know I have an answer for is like, what is your defense looking like week to week from every single game week up until 31? Does it kind of roughly have 3 players good to go each week? Would you delay buying Thiago to JSL? Oh, for JSL to next week, or should I just do it for now? I would delay. I mean, JSL is a bit of a unique position to be in, so I think I wouldn't do that. So that says Matson didn't. Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I'm saying. So it's very likely to yo-yo, but I think my concern always with those 2 players is like sometimes you're still prone to getting an early sub, right? That kind of stuff. Happy Chinese New Year as well to a couple of people in the chat. Especially you, Bamihua. UK Politics saying bench 1, Timber, Cunha, Mukiele. Probably Cunha, I think. You just sent the starting side. Yeah, we can have a look at that right in a moment. Hey, friend, start Sar, Thiago. Whoa, is Melee a Sar? I'd still start Thiago personally as a pen taker, as a guaranteed pen taker, I suppose, since both are likely to take pens. Opinions on Gravenberg as an enabler to afford Thiago. I don't really love Gravenberg as a pick, if I'm honest. I just think he doesn't really get enough DEFCON per game. So it's like, what is actually the value of Gravenberg? A lot of that comes down to if you think he's going to like overperform extremely heavily in terms of goals, which I don't think he's actually like very likely to do. I could be wrong. Like you could disagree, and that's fine. But that's kind of my take on that. Yeah, the main thing with like someone like Gravenberg, right, is his like defensive contributions are around that range of like 9.7 per game. That's actually worse than a lot of the attacking sort of, midfielders in the game, or, out and out sort of center mids. So it's like that's NJI territory, which you wouldn't say NJI is someone who's like consistent DEFCON pounder as well. So would you captain Semenyo over Holland? I probably wouldn't. Is Wirtz in my plans or no? He might be, to be honest. Like I think all things are kind of in the balance for me. So let's say if I'm not trying to squeeze Salah into my team next week, like maybe I just do something like Palmer to Wirtz instead, and I actually think I'm comfortable with that, right? Hey, for one question, is selling Haaland a ridiculous punt? I don't think it's ridiculous. My only concern is that there's still a small sliver of a chance that that blank game week 31 doesn't crystallize. There's also the piece of is the deadline. Yeah, that's the wrong deadline on the screen. Let's just change that right now. Good call there. But yeah, going back to that question on Haaland, I do think it is a bit luxury to move him out because I'm not sure if he's necessarily a worse captain than, let's say, I don't know, a Salah that you might be bringing in, that kind of stuff going for the next few weeks. Like I still have to debate it quite a bit. Going out of Haaland next week, like I might still go out of Palmer personally. Teo Triple, thank you so much for the super chat. Cherky to KDH, Q to Tiago -4, or Cherky to Sobo. I would just go Cherky. Okay, but that means what? You're gonna pass up on Tiago the whole time, right? Do you have a good enough team to kind of ignore Tiago the next few weeks? Is probably a good question. Why is Bruno being overlooked as a captain? I just kind of think Everton away is not exactly like the most high scoring fixture that I kind of see, but I mean, Bruno's obviously a fantastic player. So let's say if I didn't have Haaland, I probably would be vice captaining on Bruno. I probably would do the Cherky to Soba move, but then I'd probably ask the question as well of like, what's your next path to Tiago? If you have no clear path to Tiago, then I'd probably default back to doing the -4, especially since Cherky's minutes are kind of already, very murky. EY says play two, Maguire, Calafiore, Krupi, Elf, and Mukiele. Definitely play Mukiele, definitely play Elf. I think I would just back the two. It kind of feels good to back one team anyways. I think the results likely, could be quite swingy, but, could go very well in your way. Notorious Rasul, nice to see you, my friend. Bench Richards, Nunez, or Saliba. You got Gabriel and Timber starting. Thank you, mate. Hope you're able to kill it too for the rest of the season. I kind of like benching Saliba just about. I don't think Nunez is going to get hurt by another 60-minute sub again. At least I don't think that's going to be the case. So I kind of like Nunez a little bit more than Saliba. Up to you though. How about Joao Pedro captaincy? Yeah, I mean, I think if you think Haaland is not going to play the full 90 minutes, I think it's a decent captaincy shout for sure. Play two, Maguire, Calafiore. Need one defender. I'd play Maguire because I don't think Calafiore is going to play, And then just play Elf Mukiele, right? I'd probably play Krupi over Maguire, but it's a close call. I just find it very hard. I do think the Yoro cameo is good. I'm not sure if that's enough to depose Maguire, but I have no info on that. So I kind of have Krupi and Maguire like both in a fragile state within my team at this moment. Someone has the exact for Rice to Wirtz. I think I would just go for that. Just because if let's say Wirtz has a great performance and you're priced out, I think that's a tricky spot. I like the idea of rolling, generally speaking, but if you are like in a very tight position, I don't mind it, and I do think Wirtz is very good. You got VVD bench at the moment. We'll have a look at your team. Yeah, let's have a look. I do like Nor over Timber. I think Waffle, your team bench order. Bench order's fine. We were wanting to look at your team, right, Kim? As I said, I think if you just played Virgil over Timber, I'd be happy with that. I mean, I would still probably have Timber first bench in that situation. I think your bench order's fine. Up to you though. Like if you don't want to play Virgil over Timber, that's I think that's fine. I just think this is ultimately a very good Liverpool game, so I'd consider it. Have I missed any super chats? Nope. Let's just go back to live chat for a moment. Goeki or Timber? I think I'd say just play. I'd probably play Timber. What do you think, TC Palmer? I actually quite like it, but we're probably still gonna have some double game weeks now, just on the FA Cup information we have. So yeah, but I think this is actually one of the best single game weeks left. You know, non-Haaland wise, if that makes sense. Should I transfer out Lacroix to Anderson or delay to next week? I'd probably do it now. Should I start Harry Wilson and Krupi? I'd probably start Harry Wilson just because of nailed minutes. All good with the XI. Yeah, I think no TC as well. Protagonists agree. Kashif, we can actually have a look at Discord DMs. Yep. Yeah, I think you can roll quite easily there. I mean, that's such a good team. You're probably playing 3-4-3. I don't even know whether you pick Njai or Anderson. Probably Njai. I'd maybe actually play Alderete over Guehi, but that's up to you. Yeah, I think that's a strong team. God, you're on 4 free transfers as well. Like, you're in such a good spot. Because, like, the way that I see it is, next week you can, you know, bin off players like Sar, Munoz, etc. And you do need to save 2 free transfers that, potentially Dorgu as well. But the rest of the team just looks stupendously good. So, yeah, I think you're in a good spot. I'd captain Haaland as well. I don't think there's any kind of big reason to go anywhere else unless you want to go Bruno, which, you know, someone already in the chat has already mentioned that. El Chavers, order these please. When to start to the bench, Lafay, Dallo, Hill. I think this is actually a really good Dallo game, but of course Hill, the DEFCON chance is there. I think I would still play Lafay, then Dallo, then Hill in that order. I think it's pretty close. Is Calafiori a sell? I think he's definitely a sell. Yeah. I think another thing too is like Hinkapie has actually honestly been a huge contributor as well recently, right? So there's a pretty big reason, in my opinion, to actually start considering, you know, not having Calafiori in your team at all because he's not particularly playing well, and Hinkapie is what a lot of managers would say is in a good moment, if that makes sense. Bench one of Verts, Rice, Watkins. I'd probably still bench Rice there just about. It is a close call though, I think, between Rice and Watkins. Because you're starting to see like Watkins's minutes aren't perfect, which is what we expected when Tammy was bought, right? So yeah, I'd probably bench Watkins there. It is a very good game for Watkins though, so I don't want to like overshoot the mark, but yeah. Are you selling any Arsenal before 31? Timber for Van Dijk seems easy. Possibly. I mean, I think let's say if Timber just got benched versus Tottenham, then I'd have to make that move. Like I'd have to just throw that in there probably as a hit within my own team. Who to buy between Verts, Rogers, Semenyo? I kind of like Verts just because no bank game weeks, lower effective ownership than Rogers as well. Bench one of Anderson, Alderete, Anderson, and Hill. I'd probably bench Hill there. Or you can just like make an educated guess if you want to, like in terms of who you think is going to do well in that Sunderland game, and then just choose Hill for the other. Can you order Norris, Sobo, Richards, Timber? Yeah, definitely Sobo. Then I actually think I'd go O'Reilly after that. Then Richards, then Timber. Bench one of Verts, Rice, and Watkins. Yeah, I think as I said, it's gonna be Watkins that I'd probably bench. It's not ideal though. Like that's a tough situation to put yourself in. At the same time, if you're someone who like really doesn't like the idea of like playing a DEFCON-ish midfielder versus a Watkins, then there's that. But Rice has proven its value like multiple times. Rice and Garner to Sobo and Ryan. I don't think that's worth the move this week. I actually think you should just relax with this week. This is still a good Rice game. This is actually not a bad Garner game as well, especially since he's got a really good DEFCON floor. So, does Reece James start today? I would think so. Bench O'Reilly, Cash, or Mukiele. Big benching headache. I'd probably bench Cash just about. Just about. I think it's kind of nice that like Mukiele's numbers recently, and like when I watch him play, he looks exceptional as an attacker. So I don't think there's much in it versus him and Cash. And then at that point, it's like who can actually reasonably get DEFCON. Still, I think it's Mukiele over Cash, despite him playing right back. So thoughts on Gakpo? I mean, I think if you own him, he's probably going to be a sell soon, right? Because if a right back comes back into the team, that just means that his time is sort of finite. I don't really like him as a pick, if I'm honest. Yes, of course, there's the idea that Slot like loves him, and I think that's probably true. But I still think you're most likely going to see Salah and Verts take wider-ish positions. Have I missed a super chat there? El Chivers. Yeah, no, I agreed with your bench order. I think if you were going to start one, I think I would play Lefay, and then I'd have Dalot and Hill in that order. I think it's mighty close though, because I think Dalot actually has an exceptional game, but is someone who still doesn't DEFCON, and then he's still at the end of the day away from home. With Hill, kind of a similar situation there, but almost flipped, right? Like I think he's, I would say, still less of an attacking threat, more of a kind of DEFCON threat, but then Lefay is at home, and this is actually a pretty nice opponent to play against. So I think I'd be pro Lefay. That makes sense. Hi, Fran. Start Timber Dallo. I'd probably still play Timber at this rate. Ekitike to Thiago. I think it's actually a pretty good move if you think that the money saved will actually improve your team in terms of other moves, right? So, for example, let's say I did that move as well, there's an opportunity for me to maybe stretch Palmer towards Salah in some sort of way. So I can totally understand the logic of that play for a lot of people. Sell Pickford for Martinez. I'd consider if you have a lot of free transfers. Probably not if you don't. Calafiori replacement. Calafiori replacement. You don't necessarily need to replace him this week, because if you still have Mukiele, Maguire, or if you still have Mukiele, Anderson, and Gabriel, I think that's a good defense this week. And then you can just wait. But in reality, if you could go to Van Dijk, I would do that. It's not too crazy to consider going Konate as well. Has Bournemouth's attack been discussed? I don't think Ryan's like a major minutes risk, but yeah, I think like let's not have a look at him as if he was like some sort of 90 minutes threat in the team. I think Brooks is more likely going to be a peripheral player, as he always has been. To be quite honest, especially since he's come back from a pretty extensive injury again, middle of the season. So, yeah, I think for the price point that Ryan has, I think you can already price in some of the minutes not being perfect, but I still think he's a very solid pick. And I think you can make the same argument too for some of the Brentford attackers. Like, if you think Lewis Potter's been playing well recently, then there's definitely a scope for an argument to say that both Sade and Dango's minutes could still suffer a little bit. And I think most Brentford fans would say Sade's minutes are always going to be better than Dango's. So if that helps make you, kind of arrive at a conclusion, then I hope that helps. Should I start KDH or Anderson? I probably would just play KDH, honestly. I really think that a lot of the value towards Anderson this week is actually just him getting DEFCON. But like in theory, I think KDH always has a higher ceiling. Yeah. What do you think about captaining Enzo? I don't love it because I just think it's not like he's that much of a goal threat. Yes, of course, this season his underlying stats have been absolutely mad. Lacroix when I needed him most. Yeah, Lacroix has been terrible. But at the same time, Owning Richards over Lacroix has not been any better. Yeah, I saved a bit of money, and I probably had the same minutes as Lacroix, but I've been outscored almost like every avenue. And like, yeah, I remember like Lacroix's most recent 11 pointer. I wonder if you started him there. Ranked 380k. Mod says, should I captain Jao Pedro or Holland to push rank? I think the decision is less about what rank you are and what kind of risk appetite you have. I think there's a validity to doing it, and I don't think it has anything to do with rank. 89 rated team on FFH this week. No, I mean, look, I don't think that 89 is a bad team, for all intents and purposes. Like, sometimes it comes down to the minutes of certain players. If you think that you have a better read on them, like, then you're good to go. Um, the most important thing for me is, like, what is your team rated over a span of multiple weeks, as opposed to, okay, this is the one bad week that I'm going to have because it's rated poorly. Like, I think I had a pretty good team last week, and it just, was absolutely awful. Bench Mukele or Timber, starting Gabby, and don't like the double up because of new manager in the start of Arsenal choke job. Yeah, then bench Timber then if you want. Bench one of Verts, Rice, and Watkins. I think I'd bench Watkins. I mean, I've answered that question a couple of times. It seems like you're almost asking the question because you disagree with my answer. Hey, Fran, Hill to Anderson. Rob T is Fulham 30% clean sheet. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think I would play Anderson over Hill. Salam says, would you sell Saliba and Krupi to buy Thiago and 4.5 defender? I already have 2 Arsenal defenders. I would do that. Yeah, 100%. 100% I would do that. I think Thiago is such a good move to get into. What's the latest on Holland? Thought he didn't make the trip. Well, there's no trip to make because they're playing at home, my friend. So any jokes about him not traveling to St. James Park is just a joke. Is Semenyo starting? I think he definitely has to. Start Richards or Hill? I think I'd start Richards. Hi, Fran. Start one of Timber, Anderson, and Anderson. I think I would start Anderson versus Liverpool. Hey, hi, Fran. Why will Gakpo be a sell soon? Well, Frimpong coming back into the team probably means Sobo goes back into the midfield, which means that Wirtz likely will have to push out wide to the left wing type position to play a bit more football. Does that make sense? Late joining, sorry. Chalobah, Mukiele, Hill, Richards, how bench order? Yeah, I'd probably have... Oh, you're going to play 3-4-3, huh? I'd probably play Chalobah, Mukiele, and call it a day. I really think, like, I'm so down on Palace. Like, I own Richards, but, like, not I'm not a happy customer. Let's just say that. Have I missed a super chat there? No, I haven't. Start Douglas Luiz or Dallo. I think I'd probably start Douglas Luiz, to be quite honest. It's a really good game. He's actually got some nice DEFCON numbers as well. Rice or Bowen to start? Probably Bowen for me. Yo, Fran, if you had to pick, would you captain Ekitike versus Forest or Rogers versus Leeds? Probably Rogers versus Leeds. Hey, Fran, start one of Krupi, Alderete Anderson, or Potts to Dango and start him. I think starting one of your defenders makes sense. But yeah, I mean, why not save a little bit of information so we can see what's going to happen with this Brentford team now that Dango, Sade, and Lewis Potter are all going to play together, and then we can see who loses the minutes, etc. Start O'Reilly or Anderson. I probably would start O'Reilly. Krupi or DCL. I think I would just play. I'd probably just play DCL. Would you bench boost Kelleher, Senesi, Krupi, Mukiele? I don't think so. No. You've already used a wild card though. You know what? I probably would. Sorry, I kind of assumed that the goalkeeper would be Dubravka in my head, but then yeah, Kelleher makes a lot more sense. He's a lot stronger. Senesi, Mukiele is strong. Krupi, as long as he starts, I think that's a good bench boost. Who do you think is better from 28 to the end of the season? Stack KDH or Douglas Luiz? Probably still KDH, I would say. For this week, Cherokee to Semenyo or Rogers? If you have a lot of free transfers, Semenyo. Otherwise, I think Rogers is fine. I already explained why I think Gakpo's not. How can he be pegged in left wing if Sobo goes in the midfield? Then unless you think he's going to consistently bench one of McAllister, yeah, I mean McAllister basically, then there's no way Gakpo can be nailed because you're going to play Sobo, McAllister, Gravenberg most likely as your midfield 3 the whole time. You have an actual right back in place, which he's started to sort of utilize Frimpong there, and therefore Verts has to play football somewhere if he's not in the midfield. like we've seen multiple times this season, a lot of the Gakpo benchings are related to the Verts starts. Can he bench Verts? I think he can, but I think performance-wise, I don't think there's a reason to do that or to justify that, if that makes sense. Sean Larson's a good differential shout. Not as a transfer, but I mean, like, if you own him, then absolutely just keep him for this week because this is a great game. Start Nor Mukiele, probably just about Nico O'Reilly. Congratulations to anyone who still owns Nico O'Reilly, by the way. What a player. I kind of held him for an extra long time, but it felt like it somehow still wasn't long enough. Thoughts on starting Hill over Wilson? I feel like Fulham are really going to struggle to create against that Sunderland low block. Yeah, if you want to, I suppose. But at the end of the day, like, what are you kind of hoping for with Hill there? Is it just DEFCON, or do you really think they can get a clean sheet versus West Ham? Because I think I'd also say pretty high chance that they just struggle simply versus that West Ham team. Start Timber, Dewsbury Hall, probably Dewsbury Hall. Start one from Guehi, Hill, Alderete. I'd probably actually just go Alderete there. I am not wildcarding Nightmare, but I know you are. And I know Holland's out of the wild card, so best of luck to you on that. I might be joining you soon on Holland out. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like I needed to wild cards. Maybe I will eventually. I think if I had a bit more like certainty around what a lot of the FA Cup outcomes in the next round were going to be, I'd probably jump on that as well. I have done an early wildcard as well, by the way. Not to say that I would diminish the strategy. Like I think 2-3 seasons ago, that's exactly what I did. Didn't work out beautifully, if I'll be honest. But yeah, I mean, I more power to that. Can you talk about captaincy, please? Palmer's a differential, no need to cap, no. But like, I mean, what's the logic of that, if that makes sense? Saying someone's a differential and no need to captain is, yeah, I don't think that really makes sense as a point of logic. Like if you think Palmer is as good an option as Haaland, then it's no different to simply playing, and owning Palmer, I suppose. Like I think the only thing that would actually make me not want to captain Palmer is I actually thought his value on this game is genuinely worse than Haaland's. The differential for me is more reason to actually captain him. Because, like anytime I have a 50-50 decision myself, I'm more likely to choose the player that's lower owned if I think they're equivalent. So to me, yeah, this is more reason to do it. Like last season, I did a lot of Palmer captaincies. Not that they worked out, but I don't look at the outcome of that as, the point of logic was wrong. It's just more that I would definitely do it. It's actually more incentive for me to do it. So I'm saying, would you play Henry Brentford defender or / Senesi over Wilson? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, Rico Henry still doesn't have too much DEFCON, so I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, like going back to the captaincy piece, I suppose if it was like a much larger gap, like let's say even the models or like odds for the week were much worse for Palmer, then yeah, I would chalk it up to no need to kind of have the Palmer captaincy. But I generally think he's a better option than Haaland, so that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, 100% I'm going to slam the captaincy without even thinking about ownership. If it's close, I think definitely about ownership. Bowen to Thiago this week. To me, that's a very luxury free transfer. Finn Eriksson, I really don't think I would do it. I personally would wait for the week after, right? Because why not wait for West Ham's fixture run to crystallize, I guess. Would you captain, or to finalize, sorry, would you captain Thiago? No, I probably wouldn't. I don't rate Brighton that poorly. I think Brighton still, at the end of the day, when you kind of look at their underlying stats, have been a pretty solid defense this season. Sure, they don't keep cleans all the time. Sure, Verbruggen lets the clean sheet slip here and there. But I don't think, like, I don't see that as suddenly a game where Brighton's going to capitulate massively, but I could be wrong. What bench order should I have? Krupi, Maguire, and Calafiori. I think I'd have it Krupi, Maguire, Calafiori. Umar Chima says, can you help me with my team on Discord? Absolutely, we can have a look at that. Andre Nazari, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Really appreciate that. Do you think Crystal Palace will get a clean sheet this week? Richie, I mean, I think the odds are always going to be likely no, especially with the form. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, I did not know the team that they were playing this week in the middle of the week in Europe. I think a team from Bosnia Herzegovina, but like I have no real hopes, but I just think it is still at the end of the day Wolves. Maybe I shouldn't overplay my hand too much with regards to that. Actually, a couple of questions in the Discord chat. Yeah, Elias, I think your team's actually in the best order possible. Okay, let's see. So, Umar, I can see your team now. I mean, I'd probably get rid of Tarkovsky, but does it even make sense to do so? I'd probably have Anderson over Rodon. I'd probably have Anderson even over Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky's second. Um, yeah, I'd probably have Anderson over Tarkovsky, then Tarkovsky first bench. I mean, second bench, obviously, then Rodon third bench. There's not much to do this week, though. I mean, you still have Krupi in the team. Could we get Thiago in the squad? I think is probably the question that I would ask. You got 4 free transfers as well. I'd probably get Tarkovsky out of the team personally because you're not going to play him this week. Yes, of course, you're going to miss Burnley at home, but hopefully something can squeeze some value for you so that you can actually put Thiago into your team. Is that possible, or is that too tight on money? Because Tarkovsky's quite expensive, but then I guess to get from Krupi to Thiago, that's a lot of money, right? That's 2 million that you have to cough up somewhere, which probably means. Nah, I'd probably save that for next week, right? Because you're going to get rid of Enzo, probably to someone cheaper. Maybe what I would do actually instead is I'd probably first bench Krupi, then play Rodon. So first bench Krupi, second bench Tav, third bench Rodon, play the rest of the team, roll, get to 5 free transfers, get full information on what you want from your team. Realistically, next week you're probably going to be selling Tarko, maybe Rice, maybe Enzo, maybe Holland, and you've got 5 free transfers to do so. I don't think the team that you're putting out this week is in any ways poor, so I would actually just play the team as it is and then actually have 5 free transfers to mess around. I think next week there's a lot of managers who are going to be doing big moves like Holland out after this Newcastle at home game. Now, the irony, of course, is he still has really good games after that, but I just do think that that's going to be likely as an outcome. You can probably have one more week of pondering whether you want players like Salah or maybe just simply going to someone like Wirtz, and you can make those kind of decisions. So I think I would wait a week, and I think that makes sense. Yogesh, thank you so much for the super chat. Haven't seen you around. Nice to see you, my friend. And also 2 other managers as well in the channel, Nick, BX7K, X, and 3NTG. Nice to see you around again. Welcome to captain to the 2 of you. At 200k, or would you captain JP over Holland? So I actually answered a similar-ish question previously, and I think the kind of question was just, based on the rank, should you captain someone else? And I think it doesn't really come down to that. I think it comes down to the risk appetite piece. It comes down to whether you think Holland, in my opinion, is going to play like the full 90 minutes, or is he going to get a little bit rested, right? Especially since, he's also come off from a bit of a knock. Would it not be likely that someone like, Marmoush can just come on for Holland at 70, 75 minutes? I think that if you think that that's quite firmly in the balance, then I think JP makes sense as a play. I don't think I don't think that there's a huge consideration at this stage of the season with still a lot of game weeks and double game weeks left to say, based on the rank that you have now, would you make a certain move? Fran, Sar or bench Rice, Sar or I think I would bench O'Reilly there. Try not to use emojis in the chat just because it does sort of spam the chat a bit. Shivam, thank you so much for the super chat. Start Sar or Rice, start Timber or Hill. I think I'd still have Timber over Hill just because the clean sheet odds are so poor for Hill. Is it possible though that you could play both Sar and Rice? I think I'd still have Sar marginally over Rice. If you wanted my genuine answer on that though. Hey, Fran, play DCL or Hill? I definitely think I'd play DCL, Nick. AMS, can we check Discord? Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, I like the team. Okay, so this week you're probably playing Gabriel, Chalobah, Guehi. You got Palmer, captain, maybe. Who knows? You got Ekitike as well. Could we consider... What if we did something like... Because if you can put a 3... I'm not sure Stack's going to play, which is kind of my issue. I don't really mind Wilson versus Sunderland. I think that's fine. I'm basically trying to think about a way that you can get to Thiago, but I think you kind of have the same problem as me from a team structure point of view, where you've got all these Chelsea players. if you use transfers this week on not Chelsea players, you're putting yourself in a position where it's very hard to get rid of the Chelsea players immediately. So I actually think you're kind of in a similar position where, is Stack actually fit to play? I actually have not looked into that piece of news. Let me just quickly have a look into... Does anybody have insight on Anton Stack and whether he's actually going to play? So apparently Stack is in team training, so he's likely to start. Okay. Well, with that as context, I actually think... Yeah, I'm just trying to consider whether you play Stack or Krupi Jr. I think you could play 3-4-3 roll and then just get rid of all the Chelsea players next week. That's kind of what I think. It's up to you. I'll leave Krupi Jr. to Stack for you, right? Because it's kind of like, when Stack has a poor fixture and he's a bit of a DEFCONer, I think he's like slightly better than Krupi Jr. with limited minutes. So I think in most situations I would pick Stack. But if Stack's not even going to start the game, then obviously there's no consideration for that. Sohail says, I will have free transfers next week to go Munoz to Senesi, Palmer to Verts, and Gu to Thiago. Tempted to take a hit for Timber to VVD as well. I mean, is there a world where maybe you just don't do some sort of move like Munoz to Senesi? Like, what if you could just do something like Munoz to Virgil? Like, is that possible? And just like skip that Senesi move? I'm not sure if Senesi needs to be done, but I guess the reason why you're doing Munoz to Senesi is to actually give you the money to do the other two moves, right? Captain Pedro or Holland, I personally think I'd go Holland, but I don't think Pedro's far behind. Like, I think that's more 45-55 territory for me, if you wanted to give me, like, confidence in terms of the captaincy. When am I likely to wildcard? Gaming 32, as things stand. Yeah, yes, exactly. Okay, fine. Do you even need to go Senesi, though? Like, what if you just went Hill, simply? Look forward to watching you casually stroll into the top 100. I really wish that was so simple, but yeah, that's obviously the goal. Right now, I just want to finish top 10K this season, and we'll see where things take us. Pedro or Holland cap? I'd probably go Pedro. I don't think owning cap like Palmer really makes a difference in terms of that sort of deliberation. But I guess obviously you're incentivized to want a good Chelsea outcome, right? More so. Fran, take a -4, but as you can see also, like with Enzo recently, it's not like Enzo needs Palmer to do well and vice versa. Attackers are a lot less like homogenous in terms of like how their outcomes line up. Although Palmer has been linking up with JP quite well. Take a -4 and go Timber / Keane / Barnes to Hill / Ayer / Thiago, or hold off a week on Thiago. Serious FOMO and still feel I'd be taking. Yeah, I think I would do those moves, right? Reason being, Keane, Timber, Barnes, all quite situational as picks. I would just do it. Yeah. Most people would tell you no, but I actually quite like it because you're just moving into 3 players who are simply nailed. Now, I don't think I can justify saying Ayer is absolutely nailed. Like, what if that ends up being a move that really hurts you? Do you want to go somewhere else a little bit safer than Ayer to get rid of that? I actually think Hill is safe. Would you play Mukiele and Anderson and back both teams rather than hedge with one of them and Maguire? Yeah, I mean, like, there's an outcome. You know, a 0-0 is in the balance, right? Why Elf over Anderson? Just emotionally, just wanted to pick Sunderland at home. That's it. Hey, Fran, Captain Thiago, Holland, or João Pedro? I'd probably go Holland, João Pedro, then Thiago in that order. Can you please take a look at Discord? Absolutely, 7. Let's see. So you got free 3 transfers there. You got exact money for rights to words. You're going to need to move. Okay. I see what you mean, because you're basically just... Oh, yeah, you're absolutely going to sell Guehi at some point in time, right? If anything, like But what I'm trying to think about now is, okay, I think the problem with selling Rice this week is actually... Yeah, I agree with you, actually, because you're going to sell... Is there a move where you could do Guehi to someone and then just, you know, have a good team with Enzo out to Verts? Is that sort of what you're going to do? Or even Timber out, you know, not too crazy an idea. Bruno Enzo as vice captain, I think I'd still go Bruno. Penalties and all the other stuff, even DEFCON marginally, like it just makes Bruno all around better. Matthias, nice to see you on the stream, my friend. Best 3, Enzo, Sobo, Thiago, or Palmer, Wilson, Dango? This week, I'd probably actually back Enzo, Sobo, Thiago as a Palmer owner myself. Fad says 1 free transfer, 0 0.1 in the bank or roll a transfer. Somerville, Rice, Goodmanson, if transfer are best replacements. I would just roll. I think that's fine this week. Somerville versus Bournemouth at home is a really good game. Bench 2 of Krupi, Mukiele, Wilson, and Hill. I think triple Arsenal's fine. I'd probably bench Hill and Krupi if I'm honest. Yes, of course, like those are the two players pitted against each other, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really see like a clean outcome there in terms of like, okay, what do you just go Mukiele? I kind of think Mukiele and Wilson, like those are still the two players with the highest ceiling in your team. Hope for the best in that situation. Lafay to KDB, yes or no? I was thinking, who is KDB in the league? But obviously it's KDH, right? I I'm not in love with that move, but like I prefer someone like a Dango-ish. But yeah, I mean, I know that that's a price point sort of incentivized thing. I don't think I would do it this week. I think I'd wait for next week, Kenny, personally. Thank you so much for sending a message as well. What's my take on Semenyo? If you've got free transfers, go for him. Otherwise, don't. Stefanik, I can't see. I can't see your message, but okay, bench 2 out of Timber, Anderson, Wilson, and Senesi. Yeah, I would bench. I'd bench Senesi and Timber. I'd probably play both the midfielders if I'm honest. Start one of Njai, Evan Nilsson, and Timber. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Andre says start one of Njai, Evan Nilsson, Timber. I'd probably go Evan Nilsson in that situation. I just think he does have a really good game. I know Njai's at home as well. And that probably makes you want to go Njai. I personally think it's between Njai and Evan Nilsson. I'd probably go Evan Nilsson. You don't have much trust in Crystal Palace defenders, but it's still Wolves at home. You've been meaning to move to Hill. This is not the right week to make the move, in my opinion. Joe Diego, nice to see you, my friend. Gabby, Saliba, Mukiele, Richards, Anderson, Raya, GK. Okay. I think I'd go Mukiele. I think I'd go Gabby. And I think I'd probably still go Richards as well. Yeah, that's probably how I would do it. Start Ryan over Enzo or Rice's punt this game week? No, I think you have to play Enzo and Rice still. O'Reilly or Lafay? I'd play O'Reilly, I think, just about. Should I transfer Verts or Semenyo in for Cunha? 4 free transfers, I'd probably go Semenyo personally. I still think he's amazing. If you like 4 free transfers, that's exactly the territory you want to be when you're buying Semenyo. Jewel Glory says start 2 of Anderson, Nunez at Elf, please. I'd probably go Anderson, the Liverpool player. Then I'd probably actually have. I wonder if Nunez would actually. I'd probably play Nunez. It's close though. I think between Nunez and the rest. Like I still like Elf there, but yeah, I think all your strikers obviously have to start. I agree with that. Cunha Tembemo, I think that's worth a move. What do you think about OG Palmer triple cap? Why not? If you have a lot of chips left and you're planning to use them in the doubles, then fair enough. I actually kind of get it. You're looking at a wildcard next week, which includes Verts, barring a bad Holland performance / bad minutes. Would you recommend moving Rice to Verts a week? I don't think it's worth. I don't think the Forest fixture is even that good, if I'm honest, for Liverpool. Best route to Thiago, sell Timber, O'Reilly, or Rice to. I'd sell Timber over O'Reilly for now. And I'd hold on to Rice. I just think he's just super nailed, super good. Same with O'Reilly. And O'Reilly still, honestly, at the end of the day, has more of the attacking sort of potential than Timber right now. I think just positionally speaking, it makes a lot of sense. Captain Gabriel over Bruno and Holland. Yeah, I'm not sure if I love it this week. I can see it. Like I can see an outcome happening where Tottenham don't keep a clean sheet. Or sorry, I mean the Arsenal do keep a clean sheet, but yeah, I'd probably still back Holland and a Bruno this week. Sanchez over Raya this week? Yeah, for sure. I think that's an easy decision. Start Hill or Mukiele? Mukiele for me. I would back a home game. And honestly, Mukiele is just such an attacking player, in my opinion. I just think he's got such a good sort of cutback, sort of low driven almost pass. And he has a decent cross as well, which the West Ham game showed. Try not to spam in chat. 13 minutes left until the deadline as well. Nice teammate. Thank you. Well, hopefully we can do well. Nice team to you as well, Kaza. Naira 11. Start Garner / Van Heck. Garner for sure, for sure. Why is everyone retweeting that Palmer isn't starting? Goodness gracious, what's going on here? Have I missed something? Surely that's a joke, right? Please tell me that's bait. I don't see any news about this. I think people just want Palmer to blank, right? I'm trying to find out this news. Yeah, I can't say anything, guys. Well done for baiting me a couple of minutes. Hill's minutes secure for the next few. Absolutely, I think it's absolutely safe. Like I think he's actually been playing. I think he's been playing better than Senesi personally. But when you say like play it safe with Anderson, I guess this is like a free transfer kind of opportunity, right? So the question is like, what does Hill survive to gaming 31? I think absolutely Hill does. Like I mean, I'm pretty jealous of Hill owners. Does Anderson technically have better games? Sure, but does the Fulham defense still look pretty much like a hospital patient? Yeah. The only pro I think Anderson has Burnley at home, right? In gaming 31. So maybe Anderson is still flat out better. But then you have to kind of, I guess, buy into the Fulham defense. Nice to see you around the Torvesta, and good luck this week. Doug Gamer says, have triple Arsenal defense, start Timber, Mukiele. I'd probably play Mukiele. If I had better defense, I'd probably play Mukiele over Timber. I think my stream's disconnected briefly. Can you guys let me know if the stream's... Hopefully the stream is back. Antonio, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Welcome to Captain. Fingers crossed for Arsenal clean sheet. Yeah, that is what I'm fingers crossing for sure. Maguire or Harry Wilson? I'd probably play Harry Wilson. I really don't know. I think there's a chance that Carrick will play Yoro and a chance that Carrick will play Sesko, but does he do it? And I'm not confident enough with the new manager to say what they're going to do. Bench Keane, Lewis Potter, or Thiaw? Well, I bench Thiaw for sure. Probably bench Keane as well because I don't think he's going to start. I'd probably play Lewis Potter. Oh, but you have to bench one. Well, I'd probably bench Keane then in that case. Bench Timber or Tarkowski? Probably bench Tarkowski still. Is Richards a weaker pick than Hill? Absolutely he is. Yeah, plus blank gaming 31 uncertainty. But are we talking about this week, though? This week, I don't think so. Are the Semenyo benching rumors true? I think any Semenyo and Palmer benching rumors are just nonsense at this moment in time. Dango for Rice, I don't think it's worth a move this week. I think you wait for next week. Would you play the bench boost in a single game week if you wildcarded and have Kelleher, Mukiele, Krupi, and Senesi? I'd just about consider it. I think Kelleher, Mukiele, Senesi is quite nice for this week. And then if you think Krupi's going to start, then I would do it. If you don't, and you're unsure about it, I probably would hold off on the bench boost. For Bruggen to Kelleher for a -4. How's Verbruggen to Kelleher actually getting you the other players that you want, though? I'm kind of confused in that situation. I don't mind it, but I think like pretending like that transfer's enabling you cash-wise to do that is odd. I can see just wanting to back Brentford outright. So yeah, I don't mind that. Would you start Mukiele over Richards? I probably just about would. Yeah, I think I would. Should I do Bowen to Thiago? No, not this week. I think wait for next week. Hello, friends. Start two of these. Wilson and Jai and Bumo. And Jai and Bumo for me. Very easy. Is Dubravka, Sar, Anderson, Estev a good bench boost? Absolutely not. I think you can do better. The news about Palmer being benched is from last season. Yeah, I do love a quote tweet from like I remember last week I did have a brief sort of like 2-3 second scare on one of the casual like, oh, Gabriel's not in the squad posts. But yeah, bench one Senesi or Wilson, probably Senesi. Timber to Gabriel. Yeah, I probably would make that move. I don't really think it's worth it though. Like you've got a blank gaming 31 coming up as well. Maybe just kind of skip through it. Nabida, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your comments every week. Sorry if you answered already. Bruno F or Enzo F as vice captain. Bruno F for me. Timber Teo, I'd play Timber still. Just because Teo has such a bad game. Start Alderete or Timber. If I have triple Arsenal defense, I would probably play Alderete just about. Could I start Rice or Garner? Rice, I think. Start Lefay or Anderson. Look, that was sort of the decision that I've been thinking about every single week about this game. I think right now I'm still going to lean Lefay and hope for the best with him. Captain João Pedro or Holland? I think I would go Holland, but if you want to go João Pedro, I actually don't think it's a bad choice. In fact, let's do a captaincy poll just to end the stream. I think these are the most popular picks that I've read, for sure. Bench one, Somerville, Rice, Thiago, DK, Rogers. Probably Somerville, unfortunately. Less than 5 minutes, lock in. Yeah, let me refresh my page, see if I've actually not done anything stupid for once. Yeah, okay. Looks all good to me. Fran, you got one free transfer. Should I do Verbruggen to Kelleher for the long run? Yeah, I can see that being valuable. Enzo or Lefay? I'd play Enzo for sure. Rice or Mukiele? I'd probably still play Rice. How are you? Nice to see you, Robin. I don't know who to start. Bench, Rice, Sar, O'Reilly, or Thiago. I'd probably bench O'Reilly just about. Start Wilson or Cash. Probably still start Wilson there. When you predict double game week with City, Crystal Palace, I mean that game is likely to move into 33, but it just depends on just depends on like how teams perform in cup games, right? So you know I'd say there's a 50% chance it just simply drops into, well, more than a 50% chance it drops into 33 right now if you think that the blank game week 31 is going to be a real thing. So you know there's still a small chance it could actually still be in 31, which I think James explained on the Planet FPL pod. And then, of course, you know, it could fall into 36, but I think likely 33 still. If you were sort of to bet on one outcome. Enzo or Lefay? Enzo for sure. Start Richards or Timber. I think I'd just about go Richards. Please help. Tarko plus Rice or Cash plus Verts? I like Cash plus Verts. Yeah. Maguire, Mukiele for sure. I don't think there's a 100% guarantee that Maguire starts, if I'm honest. Rice to sub or roll? I think that's an easy roll. Evan Nilsson bench today? Is that actually possible? Who do you think is going to start? Enes Unal? Or are you saying Krupi Jr. is going to start? I think start Wilson over Krupi. Elfin Anderson first bench. I think that's fine. Best Turkey replacement. Look, if you can push the Verts, I'd probably do that. But I think if you have a lot of free transfers, I'd go Semenyo. And if you don't, then I think you have the option of just simply going for someone like a Rogers right now, or even going down to a Sobo. What to do with no Thiago, no Chelsea? Pray and wait for the next game week. Look, I simply put, with Thiago, you probably just find a plan to get to him next week. With Chelsea, I think this is the one last good fixture. You know, you can have a bad game potentially if Chelsea go nuclear, but at the same time, you don't want to be invested in something that you're going to go out of very, very quickly, right? And there's still lots of game weeks to go, so I wouldn't worry too much about Chelsea in that aspect. O'Reilly, Chalobah, definitely Chalobah. Please stop spamming in chat, though. I'm starting Timber, yes. Yeah, I'm not actually that worried about the Timber benching shouts, but I could be wrong. Any last minute leaks? Not that I could see. Not anything that was conclusive or whatnot. Like leaks wise, I don't think there's anything. 1 minute left, absolutely. You're worried about Krupi starting up top, but you're gonna have the firm starting Evan Nilsson. I think Evan Nilsson's fine. Like it just seems like he's not that happy to play Krupi over Evan Nilsson, but rather happy to play like Enno Zunal. But I don't think Enno Zunal is gonna come in. That's kind of my own like take on that. Like a lot of players have got a whole week of rest, right? Other than the Arsenal and Wolves players. So is it okay to do Enzo to Wilson next week? Absolutely, it's a great move. Absolutely. Uh, Still a minute to go, so let's lock in and enjoy this game week. Next week, Enzo to Dango or Soboslai or Wilson. If I had both your Maguire, which would you start? Or probably neither, because I really can't make a call on that. Fair enough. Thank you for giving me ease of conscience. Yeah, I'd be shocked if Nilsson didn't start personally. But yeah, I don't think anything has changed, on that front. If that makes sense. If anything, Krupi also hasn't been scoring last 2-3. So Alderete or Wilson, probably Wilson still. Timber, Anderson. I'd probably go Anderson, Nottingham Forest. Captain Holland, Bruno last minute. I think I'd still go Holland last minute. Lock in, guys. You gotta make moves. Palmer captain locked. Yeah, it's absolutely locked for me. Looking forward to it, actually. Looking forward to it. I mean, I'd love to have some Manu on my team, but I simply just don't have enough free transfers. Or a clean way to get there. What are my transfer plans for next week? They're probably going to be centered around Palmer or Holland, being the sort of make weight for any other move that I make. Like I can do something which would be like, Palmer down to someone and then Krupi Jr. to Thiago, right? And that could be a squad that I could roll it for a bit. Or I can just try to find a way towards Salah, which would maybe incentivize a hit for myself. But it does mean that I've got some, I guess, like interesting kind of Salah captaincies down the line. As far as like the rest of my transfers, I don't think there's much in terms of the Timber benching, but if he gets benched, then suddenly I've got to consider another move there, right? If we're just talking about what's the worst outcome I can deal with, and then I think maybe a week after that I could always do something like Lefay to Dango. But yeah, thank you. Leave a like, do subscribe as well if you're here, and good luck this week, whether you've captained Haaland or Palmer or some of the other picks, right? João Pedro and Thiago actually quite popular this week, so wish you guys the best of luck. Take care and goodbye. In terms of chip strategy, yeah, I'm loosely planning basically wildcard 32, bench boost 33, free hit, undecided basically. Yeah, we'll do a chip strategy video this week for sure. Don't worry about that. All right, I'll see you guys soon, and I hope you guys have a lovely